Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Weddings and Mimosas. Today I have a very wonderful special guest who I love very dearly, my sister-in-law, Amber Shimel. Cue the applause for Ray.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. And I was told before we hit record that your glass is very special.
It is. This is one of my toasting glasses from my wedding from 20 years ago.
It's beautiful.
Yep. Very special.
That inspired me to get mine out. This was actually a gift for you. We used it for our wedding too.
Yes. So beautiful.
Well, cheers, Amber.
Cheers.
Okay. I have a list of questions for you today.
I'm so glad.
And you're the first person I sent them to in advance.
Oh,
everyone else was put on the spot. I think they all.
Well, thank you. I feel honored.
Got some like frustrated people. They were like, "Don't make it the questions in advance," and I was like, "No, you don't. I haven't read them yet. So
just show up and deal with it."
Yep. But I had time yesterday, so I was like, I can give Amber her questions early. Here we go.
Yeah, I appreciated it. It just made me able to think about it a little bit in advance and discuss it.
An opportunity for even better answers.
Exactly. Yes.
So I think it's nice to have people on who have had their wedding before. And so you can give us perspective on someone who had a wedding, had a beautiful wedding. I was not there, but I heard it was spectacular.
It was.
And kind of look back and give tips and tricks and your feedback to people currently planning, because there's so much false information online right now. And so it's nice to have people who actually had a beautiful wedding and know what they're talking about and aren't 19 years old talking on it. So Amber, how long ago was your wedding?
It was 20 years ago this summer. So yeah, quite a while. So I had to dig deep back into my memories to remember this, but I actually remember it pretty well. And we don't have very many photos up in our house anymore, but we have like 2 from our wedding out of like 10 photos in our whole house. So it was a really, really great day.
I heard it was beautiful. I heard there were like trees brought in or something.
Yes, there were trees. My dad would very much like me to mention that he made a special trip with a trailer from Pennsylvania, where we were living at the time, to Florida to pick up palm trees and all kinds of foliage. I don't even remember. Big trees of all sorts, because the wedding was in a ballroom and I wanted it to look like lush and green and not like not like a convention space. And so my dad did very graciously drive to Florida and pick up a trailer full of plants. So I definitely was not a bridezilla in any way, but I also definitely, as I do with most things, had a clear vision of what I wanted it to look like, and picking up plants in Florida was part of that vision.
You know, there's something better than a bride who has clear expectations. One's life easier because no one is like worried, like, I hope she's going to like this. Is this actually what she wants? It's like a planner's worst nightmare. So you're our best friend because it's easier to please someone who is very clear about what they want.
Yes. Well, I think it's a great motto for life, because I'm clear about what I want in everything. And, we might get to this in a specific question, but whenever I was talking to my parents and to chat about the wedding, everyone said the thing that was so notable about it was how organized I was and what clear I had remember, this was 20 years ago, so there weren't like these amazing apps and such. So I had made printouts for every single person who was remotely involved in the wedding that had everyone's phone number and then an exact timeline, minute by minute, of what each person was expected to do, so that there was no guessing. There was no like questions about who was responsible for what, but it was absolutely clear cut. So I think that was very helpful.
And that's what I do.
Yeah. And I did not have, I mean, I'm sure 20 years ago there were wedding planners in the world. But I don't feel like they were as common. Maybe just not in central Pennsylvania, because if there was one available to me, I would have definitely used one, because I did end up doing all of the wedding planning tasks, which I highly recommend having such a timeline and outline of responsibilities.
If anyone can do it, it's Amber. But I feel like I get a lot from people who is like, I'm doing their daughter's wedding, or like it's like there's like an age gap, and they're like, this did not exist when we got married, and I wish it did, because my wedding was so much harder without help. I don't know where they were. I think maybe weddings just got a lot more complicated than they used to be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We might get to this also in a different question, but that I was originally planning my wedding in Disney World, and they did have a planner. So, but he wasn't like, I mean, he was more of like a hooking you up with vendors. Like, I'm sure he probably did do some sort of timeline. I never got far enough in the process to find out what he did exactly, but they did have a planner on site, but that was like, seemed unusual and seemed very, like, people were not very familiar with the concept. So I'm sure obviously they did exist, but not, I doubt there was any in central Pennsylvania.
You would gotta bring them in with the plants. Ship them in.
Exactly.
Pick them up when you get the palm tree, Dad.
Yes.
I feel like, too, the people that work with the venues, the venue planners, when you book a venue and it comes with a planner, it's never as helpful as having someone on your own, because the venue planner is just there for the venue, and they're to make sure the venue's rules get followed and to put out fires. And they say, oh, it comes with a planner, and that's just so when you get this lump sum, you're like, oh, we're really getting this, and this. Yes. Big planners, because I used to be one, are only there for the venue.
Yes.
Not as helpful, but back in the day, I'm sure was a luxury, but Disney is a luxury.
Right.
But bringing in plants, you're like Princess Kate. That's what she did when she got married.
Oh, she did?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised. Good job. Me and Princess Kate.
That's right. Sprung trees. Okay. Oh. You should look. There was like, I don't know what kind of trees they were, but they were all in Westminster. It was beautiful.
Oh, wow. I will look it up.
Her wedding was after yours.
Yeah, that's right. She heard about mine.
Mm-hmm. So what was your engagement like, Amber?
Well, we got engaged about a year and a half before our wedding. But we'd been high school sweethearts, so we were planning to get married from about 2 weeks into dating. So then we'd been waiting a long time to get engaged. And so I don't know how Chad ended up picking Niagara Falls, but we ended up getting engaged at Niagara Falls, in front of some like really cheesy, like not that fancy or nice, but Disney Christmas lights that were there. And Chad was super insistent that we go out down to the falls at like, it was like dark, and it was so cold, and I hate the cold. And I was like, no, I don't want to. And he was just like, no, let's go. I think it'll be really pretty to see it with the Christmas lights. And I was just like, no, it's too cold down there, and there's like water and like a mist. Like, no, absolutely not. So I'm not sure why he had waited until the end of the day. Maybe he was nervous, or maybe he wanted the like Disney Christmas lights to be lit up. I don't know. But anyway, he finally convinced me to walk down there, and then he got down on one knee and asked, and of course I said yes. And I don't think that we owned a cell phone at that time, so we didn't really call anyone. Like, I feel like we just told people when we got home. And there's like maybe 2 pictures of it, because we had like a real camera. So there's maybe 2 pictures, and but it was super special. So it was lovely.
So sounds so special. I didn't know this story.
Oh wow. Yeah. It was super cold, and then a blizzard came the next day, and we barely got out before Christmas, and it was 2 days before Christmas. So we made it home, but it was a crazy drive home in the snow. So it was very exciting.
You guys do crazy drives home in snow.
We do. We do. Chad doesn't care about weather, so
go. We drive.
Right. Exactly.
I feel like I don't think it's even as women. I think as people, we think about our wedding days from a very early age. We have all these expectations and dreams and hopes, and you kind of have it planned out. But what was your dream childhood wedding like? When you thought of your wedding as a little girl, what did you think it would be like?
It was definitely full princess mode. I remember at the time in I don't know, some bride magazines, there'd be those quizzes that were what type of bride are you? And mine was always a princess. That's the full dress, the big, huge wedding. That's always what I had in mind. And then from a pretty young age, I had wanted to get married at Disney, because they have a wedding chapel there, at the wedding chapel at Disney. So so that was my dream from a young age.
It's not surprising.
No.
It's a very Amber dream.
You can see the wedding chapel on the monorail, so it's they're advertising it to you from such a young age. I've been seeing it my whole life. So yeah, it's no wonder.
It's no wonder.
Yeah.
So how did your wedding plans change when you got engaged as an adult and started planning your wedding as an adult from your childhood?
Well, I'm not sure if you know this story, but I think you do. But that when I first got engaged, then we immediately planned a trip to Disney World because I wanted to get married at Disney World. So we met with the wedding planner there. The place was called Frank's after the movie Father of the Bride, which was one of my favorite movies of all time. And so we moved ahead. We at that time you would print in the newspaper a engagement announcement. And so we had printed an engagement announcement in the progress or whatever. And in that engagement announcement, it said to be married at Walt Disney World in June of whatever, that 2003. So we had I had picked stuff out. We did I have tons of pictures from the wedding chapel. And then I even sent out save the dates to all of the guests that had the date and time at Walt Disney World.
Aww.
And then after I had sent the save the dates out, I started getting feedback from people. I had just kind of imagined that everyone would come. They would just bring their families and make a big Disney World trip out of it. But of course, not everyone can just make a trip to Disney World. So from Pennsylvania. So the more I started hearing about people being oh, I so wish, but I could come, but there's no way we'll be able to come. Or if we come, it'll just be me and not the kids. Or, well, I didn't have kids at my wedding, but anyway, me and not my husband or whatever. And then I was just this is sounding like it's going to be small. And my mom and dad were yeah, I think it is going to be small because people can't travel. And I still had friends in Florida from when I had lived here, but not that many. So anyway, then at the very last minute, when I reviewed with my mom last night, she said it was the day before they had to sign the final contract for the full payment for Disney World. And I remember there were a lot of tears involved because I just was really tortured. I just didn't know what to do, what was best to do. And my mom and dad were super supportive of either way. They were fine with either. But they were if you have it in Pennsylvania,
everyone
will. Yes, everyone will come. We'll do it upright. We'll make it so special. We'll have a band. It'll be amazing. And So then at the very last minute, I changed my mind, and it ended up being such a good decision, because I'm sure it would have been beautiful and it would have been super special, but it really meant so much to me to have everyone that I wanted to attend be able to attend. So I'm so glad that I changed my mind, but it was a really stressful time making that decision. And then I had to send out new save the dates and say, never mind, it's not at Disney World.
People are the worst. I think you guys should get married again at Disney.
I know. I always said that I always said that I would do like a vow renewal or something at that wedding chapel. And maybe I will. I'm not doing it at 20 because it's now and it seems too soon. But I don't know, maybe 30.
I just got a quote for that wedding chapel and it's not that expensive.
Oh wow.
I had a bride wanting to get married there. It's not bad.
Oh,
so you should have your Disney wedding still, Amber.
Yes, I know. Or maybe one of my children will get married there. That would be amazing. I got to start pushing it.
Yeah. Just like walk by it casually next to
yes.
children.
Oh, this place is so beautiful. Huh.
Or be like, no one should get married here. It's a terrible idea. And then they're all going to want to get married there.
That's true. That's exactly what will happen.
That's what I would have been as a kid. So when you started planning and you switched your venue, what did you prioritize most in the wedding planning process? Because there's so many decisions to make.
Yes. I think after who could attend and being sure that was like convenient enough for people, I would really say, like, as far as like, was I really interested in like the food or the whatever, I would definitely say the decor was like my number one priority. What it would look like the flowers, the I don't know what it's called, but like on the walls there was like fabric, to like cover the walls. Yeah, to make it look like softer and warmer. And they had beautiful chairs at this venue. And now that you mention it, I think that venue did have like a coordinator person, but she was not on my side. She was just like there, like you said, to enact the rules and to be like, oh, this is fine, this is what we always do. And I would constantly be like, well, that's not what I'm doing. Like, but she was very like, oh, everyone has weddings in here, you don't need to cover the walls. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going, I want to cover the walls. So they had beautiful chairs, and my mom and dad reminded me that I insisted on getting chair covers because they did not match my colors, the chairs. So I definitely think like the decor, how it looked and how it felt, like I just wanted it to be really warm and romantic and like soft lighting and all of that. So I'd say that's probably the thing I spent the most time on.
But it was worth it.
Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you get married in a ballroom.
Yeah.
Like spruce it up.
Yes. Yes, because it is kind of like businessy, like just the shell of it. So you have to, which I kind of love because it's a huge space and it's climate controlled, but it doesn't look super romantic just as it is.
You're dead by the time you were done with it.
Yes, exactly.
It's perfect. So what stands out to you most when you look back on your wedding day? It was so long ago, but what do you remember most? Like what jumps right out at you, and what are you really glad happened?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it sounds like cheesy, but thinking back on all the people that were there, like, and in our wedding video, we had some relatives do like interviews, like video interviews with guests. And I mean, looking back, we try to watch our wedding video every year on our anniversary, and the wedding video itself is super poor quality because it was 20 years ago. So it's not like beautiful in any way, but seeing all of these people, many of which are no longer with us, I mean, is just so, so special to think back on. And there were so many people who did travel from Florida for the wedding. And I mean, just thinking back on all the people that were there is just so, so special. So second to that, I would say the music really stands out to me because we had a band that was from Pittsburgh. We didn't have a DJ. And it was like, I don't know, I want to say like a 9-piece band, 8-piece band. It was large and they were so, so good. And people danced so much, which was really, really important to me. And like, I just felt like people had such a great time. And another thing that stood out strongly to all of us whenever I discussed it with family was that we did, which I'm sure people don't do anymore, the dollar dance.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Do people ever do that now?
Well, but I know because of you.
Yeah. So I'm going to have my children do it. And I'm going to like make a note on like the wedding, on their wedding website or whatever, and be like, be prepared with cash because we're doing it. But it was just such a nice way for both the bride and groom to basically like interact. Like, of course, the bride and groom, which we did also, tried to visit every single table and say hi to every single person, which is nice, but a little more like formal. And then in the dollar dance, which I guess maybe I should explain what it is, that each guest, I mean, not every single person does it, but generally everyone does it, pays either $1 or some very nice people will give you like $100 bill. And it's meant to be part of your wedding or your honeymoon fund. So then they just make a line and then pretty much everyone at the wedding dances with either the bride or the groom. And then the band just keeps playing. So, I mean, I would say it took at least half an hour to an hour to get through, because it was a big wedding, to get through all of the people. But it was just so nice and fun to like have that moment with each person at the wedding and like just like have fun and dance with them. And of course it was awkward sometimes, but that was also like fun and memorable to think back on. So I'm here for reigniting the tradition of the dollar dance.
So what was your favorite moment out of your whole entire wedding?
I mean, again, it sounds so cliched, but probably like walking down the aisle. It was just such like a fairy tale, and getting to see the whole, like, the church was so, so beautiful, and getting to see all the people, like, and of course Chad, as I walked down the aisle, I mean, it just felt like just like a dream. So I would say that was probably my favorite moment, even though it's so classic and typical. And it rained on our wedding day. Yeah, for like the whole day, pretty much. And then, except it didn't rain for like the 1 hour between the service and the reception when we took pictures. So
it was perfect.
It was magical. Yes. Which I was also very insistent on. This is not really an answer to that question, but can put it where it fits. That I was very insistent on there being a short picture taking time, because I think it's so rude to keep people waiting. And I was also very insistent on there being food and drink, which I know now is much more common, but like
not back then.
No, it was not. Like, I had been to weddings at fire halls where we had waited 2 hours for brides with nothing, no food or water, no snacks, no nothing. So I was like, oh, heck no. Like, people, bride and grooms at that time, they would travel around to like shut-in relatives' houses, to like grandparents, and go take pictures at other people's houses or at nursing homes before they went to their reception.
What?
Yes. Isn't that crazy? So I was very like, we gotta do these pictures and get going. So
classy and elegant host, Amber. Good.
Thank you.
I had a wedding in January, and the bride and groom, they had a first look, so it wasn't a surprise. They got every single photo done before the ceremony even happened. And so they gotta go because I have a wedding even this September where we're doing live musicians for the cocktail hour. And the bride was like, I don't want to miss that. I'm so excited. I don't want to miss it. And so we're the whole day around it. Which see to before the wedding. I mean, just do it because then you can just relax.
Yes.
Better idea. Yep. Photos matter, but they're a lot.
Yes.
So we've talked about everything you've liked about your wedding. Let's talk about things you hated about your wedding. What's your biggest wedding regret?
I mean, so I discussed this last night in preparation for this interview, and I really couldn't think of anything. Like the only thing I could say was that it wasn't, that I wish it was longer. And then my parents and Chad were like, it started at 2. How long? And it went till midnight or 1 a.m. I forget. My dad kept paying the band to stay longer, even though they were staying at the hotel. And I remember they so didn't want to continue. And my dad was like, what amount of money will it take for you to keep playing? And so they did. But it extended way past when it was supposed to end. So it was really like, and we had a brunch the next morning. So, I mean, it was as long as brunch. We did. Yes. A like farewell brunch or something. It was very nice. And, yeah, but so, I mean, it was about as long as it could be, but I still felt like it just all went by so fast. So I don't know what to say that I would change, because really nothing like went wrong. There was no one was like belligerent. No one was like, I mean, people were like definitely drunk or tipsy, but not in like an annoying way. And no one had to be removed. No one like nothing that I know of or my parents know of or Chad know of went wrong. So I don't know what I would say. It's not a great, it's my worst answer to all your questions. What'd you say?
Have something, Amber.
I don't know. I mean, give me some ideas. I don't know. Like, I guess maybe, okay, I guess I've always hated the video from the wedding.
There you go.
There we go. So I don't know if the technology existed at that time to film in low lighting, but having a video in the first place was very not common. But I insisted because I'd read about it in magazines. And so we got these videographers, but they carried around these huge lights. So in every wedding video, it looks like it's as bright as day. It's not like the soft, that it was at the event. So when you watch the video, you're like, this is not what Amber described. But that's because they had these massive lights that they carried around. Like, so anyway, I guess that's my biggest regret, that there wasn't a more beautiful, like the photos are gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, and exactly what I wanted. The photographer was brought in from New Hampshire. Yes. And at that time, the photojournalism style was like just starting, and that's what I wanted. And he did that. And like no one in the state of Pennsylvania did it. But the videographer was just from like Clearfield or something. And I feel like I should have found someone who knew how to film in low lighting. So that's my biggest regret.
No, I knew we'd find one.
Found one.
My biggest wedding regret is that the AC did not work.
I mean, that was an issue, but it was still such a good time. We had so much fun. So we survived.
Cold showers. We were so hot. It was like an hour to not be like covered in sweat. It was so funny.
It was hot. It was hot. Darn them.
If you did your wedding day all over again, which hopefully we will, all together at Disney.
Yes.
What would you change?
I would have a better videographer. I was at the time very concerned about whether people would be drunk or like belligerently drunk. And so that was the biggest fight I had with my parents, was about the drinking. And now I would be a lot more calm about that. And I would just realize that, you know, if something like that happens, there are people there to take care of it. Like, it's not going to be me being like having to like drag out drunk people from my event. So I was really, really concerned about that at the time. And I would definitely just be calmer about that. And I'd have a better videographer.
Those are good things.
That's about it. Yeah.
Like, I always ask my bride and groom, like when there's an open bar, because I think if you're going to have dancing, you have to have the open bar. But I always ask, what's your level of okayness with people getting drunk? And I always love it when they say, oh, they don't care, because it makes for such an entertaining reception.
Interesting.
Break out.
Yeah.
What's going to happen tonight?
That's interesting. And what you said about the open bar is the same thing my parents said. And I do think now that that's true. And I'm so glad that they insisted. I did require $1 donation for every drink. That was our compromise to a nonprofit that I had worked with. After they got 2 drinks free, and then every drink after that cost $1. So, but I do think it did definitely contribute to people dancing and staying all night, and not, because my parents just kept saying, if you don't let them drink alcohol, they'll just leave and drink somewhere else. So I think that's probably true.
The dancing that really helps is the live bands and alcohol. Those two are a great party, and good food. So
yes.
We all love snacks.
Yes.
So you got married quite a long time ago. You loved your wedding. You had a great experience. What would your advice be to your children who get married, or someone who came to you? Because it's very overwhelming. And I get a lot of brides and grooms that are like, what do we do? Where do we start? What would your advice be to people getting married right now?
Well, my number one piece of advice would be to hire McKenna.
Yeah.
However, if you can't hire McKenna, hire someone like her. And if you cannot hire a wedding planner, just I mean, to be as organized as humanly possible. Like, be sure people can get in contact with each other, not just with you, because on your wedding day, you do not want to be getting 1,000 texts about like, oh, where do we park or whatever. And I mean, maybe in this day and age, I would say, like, not even have your phone, or have someone else be managing your phone. Because I think that no matter what, even if you have a planner, the bride or someone is going to have to be the ultimate person of responsibility in this wedding party. But just being super clear with expectations for everyone and what they're going to do, because the wedding planner also, she isn't going to talk to every single member of your family. Like, you as the bride are going to have to do that. So you're going to have to tell like your brother and your sister and your aunt and whoever, like, if they have a job to do, they need to know where to be, when to be there, and who to contact if they have a problem. So be organized is my best advice.
Thank you. Wedding planners save the bride not only like headaches and time, but also a lot of money, because we negotiate contracts. And that's what I tell people too when they're like, but it's just one more thing to spend money on. I'm like, actually, we're going to save you thousands of dollars.
That's such a good point. That's true. Yeah.
And we do. And so we're here to tell you, do not spend $10,000 on this. Spend $7,000 and go here and not there. And so,
right.
Also,
right, for sure. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Well, Amber, I'm so glad you were on today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun to reminisce about really one of my favorite days of my whole life. So I really love talking about it. So thank you.
I'm so glad to talk about it. I learned so much that I didn't know. I'll definitely know at Disney, and I'll plan it for you.
Yes. Yes, it'll be the best. You will negotiate all the best prices and do all the best things. And you're probably the only person past myself who I would trust with any sort of important details like that. So I know you've got it handled.
Amber is a blogger and an Instagram influencer, the best one I know. We learn so much from Amber every day. Follow her on Instagram at Amber Likes. Check out her blog, amberlikes.com, for all things educational, Disney, family related. She is the person we go to. As soon as we have Margaret, I'm gonna like have Amber write a book. No.
Margaret.
We're just gonna ship her off to the Shimels every summer.
That's right. Then just move it. Amber's boarding school.
Get some good. Well, thank you for coming, Amber. We're so happy to have you on our podcast today, and we will have you back on hopefully next year.
Okay.
I'll write you up a new list of questions.
That's right. Great. At 21 years. All right. Thank you for having me,
Amber. More episodes are coming soon. Have a great day and stay tuned for more.